Hello lovely people, welcome to the Geek Cupboard. I am Penge and welcome to day 19 of the Geek Cupboard's Fes-tea-ve Advent Countdown 2021. So let us seek out little tea pocket number 19. Now it's not on the first sort of panel here, there is only one tea left on this one. Is it on this one here? There it is, it's right there. My goodness, I like that. The packet is good, I love a hot pink. Okay, so what do we have here? Tulsi Clarity. Okay, I will admit that I don't know what that means, but right you are. A sacred blend flowering with vibrant clarity. Okay, right, so Tulsi Clarity. I don't know what Tulsi is. I'm not entirely sure what that is. Hang on. I have to go and find out what that is. Let me just go and consult the internets for a second. Well, there you go. You learn something new every day, don't you? So the internet has told me that Tulsi is also known as Tulasi or Holy Basil, or Basil if you prefer. Didn't we buy some of that in Sheltered 2 the other day? I think we might have done. So apparently, yes, it's a flowering plant of the mint family, grown for its aromatic leaves. The plant is widely used in, okay, so here's a word that I also had to go and look up after I'd read it. So Ayurvedic, possibly, and folk medicine. So Ayurvedic is some sort of natural system of medicine which originated in India, and it's often used as a herbal tea for a variety of ailments and is considered sacred in Hinduism. So Tulsi is sacred in Hinduism. Okay. I mean, I have no idea what this is going to taste like. I mean, yeah, it's from the mint family, but it's kind of holy basil or basil. So I have no idea what to expect with this. It's going to be very intriguing. So I think to help us find out what's going on with this tea, we need to go to the kettle. And here we are with our lovely freshly brewed cup of Tulsi Clarity tea, and this is very much a voyage of discovery, isn't it? Because I have absolutely no idea what to expect with this at all. I mean, to look at it, it's a black tea. It's quite a strong looking black tea. However, in terms of the smell, I can't really pick anything up. There's a possible sort of very faint hint of fruitiness, possibly. But, I mean, maybe it's just because, the tea doesn't smell very strong. Or it might be because my nose doesn't work properly. I do not know. However, let's have a taste, shall we? Let's have a taste of Tulsi Clarity tea. Okay, here we go, everybody, into the unknown. Okay, that's sort of floral. It's sweet, so it's not a bitter sort of black tea. It's quite sort of sweet, and it's sort of floral tasting. Hang on. I need a little bit more. Okay, I'd say that's kind of it, really. That is... okay, I mean, it's not unpleasant, but it's not spectacular. It's kind of a little bit sort of flowery, almost. And it's sweeter. You would expect a black tea to maybe be a little bit bitter, but, it's sort of a sort of sweetish kind of tea with a bit of a floral taste to it. But that's kind of it. It's unspectacular, shall we say. It's competent but unspectacular. I mean, compared to some of the teas we've had so far on our advent calendar, I mean, yeah, it doesn't match up to them. It's okay, I suppose. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a bit bland, but it's just sort of, it's okay, I suppose. It's kind of just a bit, yeah, it's all right, I guess. Yeah, compared to some of the others, it's a little bit sort of unspectacular. But yeah, there we go. That is what it is. There we go. We've had some Tulsi Clarity. I'm sure it's good for us. I'm sure it's full of lovely, healthy goodness, and we shall be better for it having had the tea. So there we go. That's the tea. Right, let's move on to today's question. Now, this was asked by someone who wished to remain anonymous, which is absolutely fine. And they have asked, what music do you like? And do you have any favourite bands? Now, here's the thing. And this might surprise a few people, I've never really been that big on music. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a nice tune, of course, but I'm not really sort of fanatical about music. I didn't have sort of music posters around my room, and I was never one to sort of get into heated arguments about which band is best and all that kind of stuff. I think overall, right now, I have around 15 albums in total, and possibly a couple of singles. And that's it, really. That's it. It was never really a big thing. I was never big on it. I was more sort of, books. I had lots and lots of books, but I didn't really have any sort of albums. When I was growing up, I just had the radio on. I just put the radio on and I listened to anything that was on the radio at the time. So, I sort of listened to a whole variety of different things. But yeah, I didn't really sort of, have sort of specific sort of bands and such like that. I had to go and get their albums and had to go and get their singles and that kind of stuff. It was just sort of, I listened to music and it was on, but I was never sort of overly passionate about it or, particular aspects of it. I mean, I've barely been to any live concerts. I'm struggling to think of live concerts I've gone to right now. I went with my mum and dad a long time ago to see Mike and the Mechanics. Ask your parents, kids, or maybe your grandparents, I don't know. But I think that might be it. I've never been to a sort of a live, like a gig or whatever. I don't think I ever have. I mean, I tell a lie. I've been with Mrs. Penge to see Boyzone many a time. But of course, that was me going with Mrs. Penge. But yeah, so music hasn't really been a huge thing in my life. It's just not really been that big a thing. I did actually think about a stage thing. I did go to see War of the Worlds, like the stage show, with my dad, a long while ago, 7-8 years ago. So that's like Jeff Wayne's soundtrack on stage with acting bits and effects and all that kind of stuff. That was good. But that was kind of more of a stage show. It wasn't like a gig. It wasn't like a music gig. I didn't go to see a band. I went to see the show. But I mean, of course, I have music that I like. I have music sort of styles that I prefer. I mean, things with guitars generally are what I like. So, I mean, growing up, I liked, although I didn't really have their music, didn't buy it. Yes, things like Oasis and Blur, Pulp, Nirvana, the Pixies, all that kind of stuff. Again, I am very much very much aging myself with these things. And I don't mind some of the older stuff that my parents used to listen to, because, I grew up listening to that, and that kind of, that sort of sways your musical taste a bit. So things like, I mean, again, this is going way back. This is before sort of my time, really. But, Genesis and Fleetwood Mac and The Who and all that kind of stuff. I sort of like all that. I can have that on. Foo Fighters. I do like the Foo Fighters. They're still around. They're still doing stuff. They're still fooing and fighting. So, I like them. The Foo Fighters are good, and they've been around a good long time. So, it's that kind of, if I had to choose a type of music that I prefer, it would be that type. But I mean, if I had to listen to any music at all, that was sort of regular music, it would be sort of instrumental stuff, or film scores, or game soundtracks, that kind of stuff. So, stuff without words, I would say, for the most part. Stuff that I can just have on whilst I'm doing something else. And I would often do that at home when I was growing up. I'd have sort of, some soundtrack type things on that I'd found that I could then read. I could read my book while the soundtrack was on. Because if there's words on, I'll be distracted. So, I couldn't read and listen to a song with words. So that's kind of where that came from, I guess. I mean, there's loads of good film scores. There's loads of good things. And game soundtracks. I mean, Lord of the Rings, that's a fantastic film score. Star Wars, of course, is amazing. Pirates of the Caribbean. Interstellar, that's got a great soundtrack to it. Batman, so the original Batman. Well, the new ones as well. But the original Batman film score is very good. Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, all those kind of things. I mean, Mass Effect has got a really good kind of soundtrack behind it. A lot of the Zelda music is wonderful, that sort of stuff. But, it's one of those things I don't go out of my way to listen to it. But sometimes, I think, just pop a bit of music on, there we go. I mean, of course, topically right now, Christmas music. Of course we'll have Christmas music on. We'll all have that on around this time of year. But I do love a bit of Christmas music. All the classics. So, All I Need for Christmas Is You and Last Christmas, Whamageddon, all that kind of stuff. Springsteen doing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Driving Home for Christmas, One More Sleep. All the proper cheesy Christmas nonsense. Yes, I will absolutely have that on, because why wouldn't you? It's that time of year, and I think it's the law or something. And then, of course, Fairy Tale of New York. You have to have that on. That kind of properly announces Christmas right there. So, I'll have Christmas stuff on. And we do sometimes use the Alexa to play a bit of Christmas music. So that's okay. I don't mind that. But of course, that's very seasonal. Obviously, it is. It's very sort of this time of year. But yeah, in terms of other stuff, music hasn't been a big part of my life. I would say I was more sort of into sort of games and then books. Really, I didn't really have the whole music thing, so I wasn't overly bothered about it, really. I mean, other people I knew, they would buy sort of NME and all that kind of stuff, and they were really passionate. And they'd have, I remember at school, like people getting into arguments about certain bands and such like, and I was never that bothered. I was never bothered. I was a bit, whatever, okay. They're good, are they? Right, you are, if you say so. So yeah, it never really bothered me. But yes, as I said, I did have, some of my favourite types of music, but it's not like I would be absolutely set on those things. I could listen to some other stuff as well. But there we go. Hopefully that answered the question. I think we've kind of, had a good look at my musical taste, or lack of, I suppose, there. So yeah, hopefully that's good enough to answer the question. So I think I will go and finish this tea because, I don't want to leave any tea behind, but, I'm not overly enamoured with it, if I'm honest. But I will finish it because we're not going to waste a nice cup of tea. So there we go. I will go and finish this and we will finish things up for the moment. So for now, thank you very much for joining me for day 19 of the Fes-tea-ve Advent Countdown 2021, and I will see you next time. I just want to point out the danger of blasting fire into the face of somebody who has not got any kind of headgear on. Let's suppress the pants off that thing. I always knew hiding on a park bench would be no good. Oh no, it's a terrifying disc thing. The aliens shoot him with such force that he loses his hair, which is just ridiculous.